Like, where did it all begin, man? I know you struggled for 18 years drinking, and it kind of got worse and worse every year.
Yeah.
The last 4 or 5 years, you said it got really, really bad. So why don't you just
Yeah.
start from the beginning, man?
So grew up in a Christian household and just normal American dream. Family had dad had a good job. Mom stayed at home. Went to church every Sunday. Had a bunch of good friends, and never thought that I would be held captive to alcohol. It started off kind of innocent in a way, or the devil wants you to think it's innocent. All the friends were doing it, in high school, and it just became the norm. You hang out with a certain group of people, you drink on a Friday, Saturday night, here and there, football game, and it becomes a part of your life. And then you get out of high school, and I'm running through my story completely, that a lot of people can probably relate to. But you get out of high school, and the drinking carried over into being with buddies that I lived with, and we partied. Our first house we got when I was 20 years old, lived there for about 3 years, and just drank all the time at that point. Just couldn't stop, but it wasn't bothering me at that time because I was just partying.
Yeah.
It was fun. I was in my early 20s and didn't know what it was going to do to me later. Didn't know what the enemy was doing behind the scenes. Um, but he tricked me into thinking that this is normal. You're having a good time. You're young. Keep it up. Well, that kept going into my 30s. Got married, had kids, and realized that I couldn't stop. And before, you know how time flies, you blink, and I was, 32, 33 years old, still drinking. And when I hit about 35 years old, no, when I hit about early 30s, 31, 32, it started to become a real pain in my side. Like I could not put it down. And I started to feel guilt. I started to feel like it had me trapped, which it did. I started to just realize that I couldn't shake this thing. I would cry on the way home from the liquor store the last 3 or 4 years of drinking, because I couldn't do it on my own. So that guilt of being trapped in something that your family notices that you're doing, but you're so out of your mind, you start to develop this "I don't care" mentality, and start to get just self absorbed. But on the other hand, you're crying on the way home from the liquor store because it's such a trap.
Right.
Um, so one night when I was about, it was 2020, I was up, drunk as could be, and finally just cried out to God at my bedside. And I had been broken, and I had prayed a million times, probably like you, for God, take this away. I don't want this anymore. But I didn't really mean it. I wasn't broken completely until that night where I realized I can't do this anymore. Like something's got to happen. You've got to do this for me, Lord, which was me taking my hands off the wheel. And that very next morning, after me just surrendering and crying at my bedside, after 18 years of this struggle, 4 years of it really being a struggle, um, then I wake up the next morning and I'm sitting on the couch, and I told my wife, I said, something is going on. Something just like entered me. And she's like, what are you talking about? So I went outside, and all I could think to do was like run. So I ran down to my pull up bar. I did some pull ups. I ran inside and grabbed my bow, started shooting my bow. I just wanted to get away from this feeling that I didn't know at the time was a panic attack. And that led to many more panic attacks. I was on my way down to the beach to see the family because I stayed back for work, and they were down there. So I remember driving down there and being on the side of 75, which is the main highway, having a panic attack, just fetal position, cars whizzing by me. And I'm like, what is going on? So through that, and I'm sure I'll express this more in later podcasts, but through that, I knew God had answered my prayer. I knew he was like, because I prayed during that prayer, hit me hard, wake me up. Whatever you got to do to get this bottle out of my hand,
Yeah.
I want it broken. And so, long story short, I go on to have a ton of anxiety, panic attacks, depression, you name it, fighting for my life every single day. But I knew the last thing I was going to touch was alcohol. Like, I did not, I knew what he was doing. He was letting, kind of like Job, he was letting the devil at him.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this sucks beyond belief, but I'm not touching that. You couldn't pay me to drink alcohol. Well, months went on, still battling depression, but still like alcohol is the last thing on my mind.
Right.
So he was working through that to. So you're thinking right now, well, anxiety and depression is a horrible thing. Well, I can tell you this: whenever I'm struggling, I'm in my Bible, big time, and that's exactly where He wants us.
Right.
When I was drinking, I wasn't in my Bible. So that might be the thorn in my side. But that being said, He helps me through those dark times too. And whenever I'm going through, because I still struggle with it every now and then, it's not near as bad as it was when He hit me and back in the day. But I still struggle with it from now and again when I start to get sidetracked and not focus on the healer.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it was literally overnight. I prayed that prayer, and the next morning, I got hit with that horrible feeling, and I ain't had a sip since. Not one sip. And through this journey of anxiety, He says in the Bible to, consider your pain a good thing.
Right.
If you're in Him, rejoice through your suffering.
Right.
So that's how I'm viewing it, and He's got me through, and He'll continue to get me through. And yeah, it was kind of I know a lot of people have the testimony. God doesn't work the same in everybody's life. He might gradually open their eyes to certain things to lead them here to gradually stop drinking, and that's their testimony. And sometimes He just heals.
Right.
He just takes it away, and that's what He did for me that night.
Well, sovereign God knows how you're going to respond too.
Yeah, exactly.
So if He knows you're going to respond in a positive way, He may take this way because I want to track this guy for bigger purpose.
Well, some people aren't stubborn, like as stubborn as others. He knew He'd have to hit me with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Because it was years and years of me going, I didn't know I was doing this really at the time, but I was. I was agreeing with the enemy and keep living in sin and drinking and keep turning my back from God through the bottle. He had to do something hard.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, this is where they go wrong. They would have got hit with that the next day after a prayer, and now they'd be angry at God. Why did you have to give me this anxiety and depression?
Yeah.
No. He's using it as a tool.
Yeah.
To better His kingdom.
Redirecting.
And a lot of people, they're going to choose through pain and suffering to go one of two ways, towards Christ or away. It's that simple. And they can get mad at God when you should be mad at the enemy, not God.
Yeah.
So
if you do want God to direct your life, then you got to take your hands off the wheel and let Him direct your life.
Yeah. Carrie Underwood, Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah.
So that's a good song, but there's a lot of truth to that.